kinds of other things to do.
Yeah.
Root canal.
In case you folks missed it, we're doing both the work session and the public hearing that was scheduled for Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. As our house chair had just said, we obviously missed Tuesday, and because of the storm. So we have a lot of work to do today. Hopefully, we can be efficient and go through this. We'll do the work sessions first, as planned, and then we will go to the public hearings that were scheduled for last Tuesday. I think we can get this done in relatively good speed of time and do all we have to do. But I do want to say good afternoon and welcome. And before we go too much further, remind everybody who's watching that this is an electronic meeting. We're still feeling our way along, so be patient with us. The meeting is live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel, and all participants via Zoom can be seen and heard if the mic is on. Speakers must be recognized before speaking by the chair. The meeting is also recorded and available on the committee's YouTube after meeting is concluded. And make sure your displayed name is as it's on the Zoom is as registered. Also, we want to remind everybody or state this is a work session, and a work session is unlike a public hearing. It's for the committee to discuss each of the bills. And our job is to come to a conclusion, hopefully, and then report the bill out. Members may request through the chair for others to provide information if the committee member so desires. And so I think that sets us up. We do have 5 work session bills today. And we're going to do them in the following order. We tried to group them so that it made some sense. We're going to do 43, 234, 230, 236, and 228. And then we will start that forthwith. However, before we do that, we would like to introduce the committee members. And we'll start with Senator Farren. Good afternoon and welcome, Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name's Brad Farren. I represent Senate District 3, which is the majority of Somerset County in the town of Rome and Kennebec County.
Thank you. We'll go to Senator Chipman.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. I'm Senator Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is most of the city of Portland.
Thank you, Ben. Representative Wayne Perry.
Thanks, Senator Diamond. Welcome, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and most of Lyman.
Thank you. Representative Lynn Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm having a bit of a problem with my video, but I'm Lynn Williams, District 135, Bar Harbor, Lemoyne, and Mount Desert.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Next, Representative Dustin White. Is Dustin with us?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Not
We'll
yet.
go over to Representative Mike Perkins.
I don't see him. Oh, he just hopped on.
Okay. Representative Perkins, you wait with us? If not, we'll come right back to him. We'll go Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Senator. Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Bryant from Wyndham. I represent House District 24.
Thank you, Mark. Representative Bruce White.
Yes, hi, I am Representative Bruce White from Waterville District 109.
Thank you, Representative White. Representative Tom Martin.
See him on the list. Yep.
Tom. Representative Kevin O'Connell.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Kevin O'Connell, represent District 128, 4.75% of Brewer.
Nice. I was wondering about that. Representative Rich Sebra.
Hey, good afternoon, Senator. I'm Rich Sebra. I represent District 68, the 5 towns on the western side of Sebago Lake.
Thank you, Rich. We'll go back to Mike Perkins. Representative Perkins, is he with us?
Yes, I am,
Yes.
sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Perkins. I represent District Number 77, Oakland and Sydney, and thank you.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. And House Chair, Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Danny Martin. I represent House 150, located in northern Aroostook County.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I am Bill Diamond, State Senator from Wyndham. My district is 26. My town circles Sebago Lake. Our analyst, Sam Prower, Karen Neto, and when we're doing budget, Suzanne Voynick. And our clerk, of course, is the one that keeps rescuing us, Darlene Simino. Thanks again, Darlene, for all you do. We know it's not easy. Today was another challenge for different reasons, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair Martin, anything before we begin?
No, I think we're good to go, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to start with, in our work session, we're going to start with LD, what's the list? LD 43. On LD 43 is an act to require the Department of Transportation to provide ferry service to Frenchboro. We gave that a lot of discussion before, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion. I think there's some good ideas about this one and the next one, which is why we put them together. They're not voting on together, but we wanted to talk about them in sequence. So, Sam, you want to just give us a reminder and where we are with LD 43?
Actually, Senator, I'm doing the 2 main state ferry service bills with the committee today.
Well, thank you.
And the committee just did table this at the last work session, so
Thank
technically.
you for that reminder. Do we have a motion to take LD 43 off the table? And people can raise your hands, by the way, when we vote on this.
Yeah, so moved, Mr. Chair.
Move it, motion, take it off table is a second.
Second.
Second, thank you. Would everybody just push your raise hand if you agree to take this off the table, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is taken off the table, is passed. Karen, I think we can go here. Thank you for bringing me up to date on that.
Yeah, so this bill, current law, has permissive language that the department may operate the ferry route or routes to and from Frenchboro. And what this bill proposes to do is to require it. Currently, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 island communities that the department is required to operate a ferry route to and from. So this bill seeks
That's
to add
because we're doing the work
Frenchboro
session first,
to that
and
list.
then we're going right into public hearing.
Darlene, your mic's on,
Hey, Darlene, your mic's on.
No, that's okay.
but her headset's off, so.
No, we got 4 or 5 bills, but they're not gonna take long. Yeah, all right, bye.
Darlene, your mic is on. Darlene, your mic is on.
I know, I couldn't find my picture. I disappeared to turn it off.
Okay, sorry, Karen, go ahead.
That's okay. So, the committee tabled it. We do have this other bill, LD 234, relating to Matinicus, although it's slightly different. But the committee did ask that Commissioner Van Note be present at the work session to sort of answer some of the questions about DOT funding, and you also received some additional information about Main State Ferry Service statistics, ridership over calendar years 2019 and 2020. And, you can see how the pandemic has certainly affected that. So I believe we have Deputy Commissioner Fisher. It looks like we have Karen Doyle, we have Megan Russo, and I don't know if Commissioner Van Note will be joining us. And then also the sponsor of the bill is joining us again. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Thank you very much. And by the way, thank you for the sponsor, Representative McDonald. Thanks for being with us. Deputy Commissioner Fisher, can you bring the committee, give us some help on direction? We want to make sure we realize there's more than just this one ferry issue, one bill. We know obviously of 234, but we also know that there are other issues going on with this whole process. So Deputy Commissioner, could you give us react to some of the questions maybe that we had at the public hearing, but maybe even more so give us some direction on what you think might be appropriate so that we can do this and do it right?
Sure, Senator, I'd be happy to. Again, I'm Nina Fisher. I'm Deputy Commissioner for the Maine Department of Transportation. I don't know if you folks can all see, but Bruce Van Note, Commissioner, is here. I don't know if you would like to hear from him. You had requested his presence to discuss these two bills and the Maine State Ferry Service as a whole. Is that?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, your audio is not good. So maybe we will, even though we'd rather speak with you, we will go with the commissioner for sure. Commissioner?
How's my audio, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman?
yes, perfect, as usual. Excellent.
Well, thank you all. I'm sorry, I was not at the previous deliberations on these. So I take direction well, Chairman, as to what you want to cover, but just very briefly, and I think you've heard all this, just financially, you know, the ferry service is a $12 million a year operation. Currently, in normal years, pre-COVID years, the state law is set up that state support is up to 50%, and that has been coming from the highway fund, or $6 million. In current years, with COVID and reduced ridership, we've luckily been fortunate enough to get some federal CARES Act type money that we've been able to additionally subsidize to the tune of $2 million in the last year, and it looks like we're going to need another $1 million this year. So just overall, you know, the 6 island communities that we've been serving for a long time, I spent a lot of time getting to know the ferry service. I've had the pleasure of going out on all the islands except one. I won't say which one because then it'll be, I don't like that one. It had nothing to do with it. It was completely scheduling. Because when I walked in, there was a lot of controversy regarding the fares, and they had gone to a flat fare network. And so by and large, most islanders are appreciative of, you know, the service they're getting, and they're, you know, obviously they're good people. I grew up in Bath. I love everything saltwater, so this wasn't a terrible assignment for me to have to go out to islands and try to understand their needs. You know, I guess the macro kind of observation I'd make from a policy perspective is that the state is investing a lot of money to keep this service going. There is no question. There are some troubled waters ahead probably on finances. And it's not through all these listening sessions and these rate hearings. The idea that the ticket price has to remain low, but the costs go up, and there's Coast Guard regulations and boats coming due. We're going to have to, you know, have some serious conversations about how we keep a viable service going. So these two bills together, as you know, we testified neither for nor against, because neither of them mandated additional service than what we were already providing. But there is no question that they, in general, said that we want more service. I mean, that's what they were going for. And given the financial situation we're in, which is right now, of course, it's really bad because of COVID, but I'm setting that aside. It was going to be tough no matter what. This isn't the time I'd be thinking that adding service would be the normal thing. I mean, when you get laid off, the first thing you do is not go out and buy a car, right? You sit there and make the payments you have and try to keep things going. So I've been very upfront with all the Islanders when I talk about this stuff. I don't think this would be a surprise to any representative that are sponsoring the bills or stuff. I'm just saying this is a tough lift. And so we weren't opposed to those particular bills because they didn't mandate service. If they had mandated service that said thou shalt do more, we probably would have had to oppose, just because I think we have to have fundamental conversations. And these aren't these aren't the kind of conversations that work well in a single bill format. You know, you do have to engage. I got to know, I've been out there before, but these island communities each have their own personality. Their personality can change by the season. And they have strong feelings about what should be happening on their island. Very close knit, and we're trying to run a service for all six. So I have all kinds of information that I could provide on individual ticket prices or cost of this or populations or demographics or trends or all that kind of stuff. But I think I'd just rather leave it at that, it's time, I think. And I've told, there's a ferry service advisory board that exists by law that we stay in close contact with. Obviously, that's the whole purpose. And we've provided this information, including Eva, who's the chair, who I respect very much, get along with her very, very well. Sorry, that's the next bill, but the financial aspects of it, what should the subsidy be? Where should it come from? Who pays? Ticket prices are handled by a separate administrative process. You can't, we can't do that through discussions or a working group. But are there any kinds of changes in service, a different way of modernization, or different ways that you can find efficiencies? They're all, I can tell you, they're all very challenging conversations, but they're conversations that I think we need to have, but not probably within, the confines of a single bill that's just talking about French Borough and Matinicus. It's very service wide.
So
I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I'll leave it at that.
thank you, Commissioner. But I think and tell me if I've misinterpreted, but it seems to me like the issue won't be solved or improved by just passing this bill or killing this bill. Or the next one. As far as that goes, it's a much bigger issue. And if the committee wants to do something that's productive, we're going to need more time to do that, I would think. And how would you respond to that? Is there something that could be done over a period of time to get this committee more information, to be able to so we can make a better decision and not have to just focus on one little minuscule part of the issue?
Well, it's obviously totally up to the committee. And we're not looking for more work, but the only way this thing gets done is through formation of some kind of, working group or something that, which I'd be willing to, take on, but it's going to take, we need a year type stuff. I mean, honestly, we have a new electronic ticketing system coming on board, which could give us some really rich data. We wish we had that now, because the kind of questions we get are very island specific. How many people take this run off this island on this day?
Right.
Kind of stuff. And we have good information, but not perfect. If the committee was so inclined, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of all my staff that are potentially listening to this and how much work this is going to be, especially if Bill Pulver and Nina and others who've been working on this. I think we were kind of planning anyway, seeing this on the horizon of creating some kind of working group, not necessarily the Ferry Service Advisory Board, but people who perhaps maybe run other ferry services, technical experts, those kind of stuff, so that we can kind of look at this holistically and find out, are there ways we can do it, both in terms of the cost side, but also on the subsidy side. Are there different models that can do something? Because the math's just not working on the budget. I mean, subsidy cost per ticket, from what the Islanders say, has a limit. I've had people say, I've heard, by the way, all the way from the state shouldn't be subsidizing anything to the state should be subsidizing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kind of just fundamentally thought, well, 50% must be close to the right answer. I don't know.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So I guess would be some kind of working group. If the committee wanted to task us with doing such a thing, we'd be glad to report back with information.
Perfect. Thank you. Representative Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, I'm glad to hear that you stated that you could in fact provide additional information if that's what we desire. I have a couple thoughts. However, I'd like to get some input from my colleagues from the House side of the aisle. I don't know if there are any comments or any desires or.
Well, did you want to wait for your question, Mr. Representative Martin?
Yeah, no, I'd like to get some input and give other committee members an opportunity to comment on this bill.
Sure. Okay. Are there any other questions? I see Representative Perry has his hand up.
Yes,
Perry?
Mr. Chair. I kind of want to follow up a little bit on what the commissioner said and the deputy commissioner, during our meeting the other day. They ought not to pass if there was money involved or there was expanded service involved. Going from May, which the DOT has done service, the ferry service to Frenchboro for 50 years or whatever the number. So that's really not changing. The second you say will, at any point, more mandated service may come in. Just like on the next bill with expanding trips. No extra trips today, the extra trips come tomorrow. And at that point, the cap's lifted and all that. I've never been one to pass a bill, to do something just to make it look like we're doing something. I think the next year anyway is going to be problematic for DOT, we still have COVID, we still are doing all this stuff. I think this is, an overall DOT thing that they need to do internally, not us telling them what to do on, working groups or whatever. So I just think at this time, this is something that, DOT's got a plate full and we shouldn't be adding more to their plate on something that, probably really doesn't have to be done right now.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Representative O'Connell has a question.
Just my concern is that for this bill to be brought up, I'm thinking there must be a need. Is there a greater need at this time? And I look forward to what Representative McDonald has to say, probably to that issue.
Okay. Thank you, Representative. We appreciate that. Representative White.
Yes, thank you. I would just like a little clarification. How does it work when an island, which this bill does not ask for increased ridership, but how would that work? Does that, does the, commissioner make that decision on his own? Or?
Essentially, I'm responsible for it, yes, but it's not, I can tell you for sure, I don't make it on my own.
Yeah.
You'd start
right,
with,
I was just.
No, you'd start with the Ferry Service Advisory Board kind of process. That's what that's there for. And it would come up and I'd be asking for some kind of endorsement. Do they endorse it? My experience is, they usually endorse more service because they may be asking for something later. These are island representatives. That's intentionally what it's supposed to do. And then it comes down to a operational, financial, how do we pay for it thing. And that is what's, the Maine State Ferry Service, which is which eventually reports to me. I mean, we wouldn't be changing or cutting or doing any kind of service without a whole bunch of communication. And I want to make everybody know, even if we do a working group, that's not what this, I'd probably be going to the islands again, and having a lot of conversations eventually, but I'd just like to do it for more of a holistic long-term thing. Not that last time I went out, we had an immediate, these fares are screwy, we're ticked, fix it, literally fix it. And so we're out there focused on that. And I'm just looking to have more of a conversation about the future. There are tough decisions to be made, but what I would do, Representative White, if I were doing that, is regardless of whether this committee mandates it or not, I'd be creating some kind of working group, reaching out and putting some people that I know would be interested or have information to help so that we get better educated about what opportunities there are. And then after that, this stuff doesn't happen quick. It's not like somebody comes in and goes, hey, I think we should add a new run to someplace. And I go, yeah, go ahead. Or cut one. Yeah, go ahead. Trust me, it doesn't work that way.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Follow up.
Representative, excuse me, did you have a follow-up? Yes, go ahead, Representative White. Sorry.
Just to clarify though, whether this said shall or may, those requests would come in the same manner, really, correct?
Yeah, regardless of how this was, the shall, we're already providing Frenchboro. The reason the Frenchboro bill came up is because the Got Boat contract, we did look at it. This is a ferry vessel. This is an additional, this is a Got Boat. And this is a passenger ferry vessel, which is not normally the case mostly. And it has relatively low ridership and relatively high subsidy on that particular run. The subsidy is to the entire service, right? The 50/50 comes in for at the overall 12 million, 6 million level. It doesn't come in, not every run of every island is subsidized the same because you only collect so much ticket revenue. This one was a tough one in terms of number of people and that. So there's no question we were looking at it. That had the usual response when we look at something like that, which is don't you dare kind of thing. Right. And this is just trying to make sure that we continue. And we agreed that we shouldn't be doing anything fundamental like that without more conversation in the process. So we already had agreed to that before this, but this is just making sure it doesn't happen, I think. And I, again, don't care that much from my perspective about this particular bill, but I want to be very upfront that requests for additional service are going to be a very challenging thing. And so I just want to be upfront with people on that.
Thank you. The sponsor, Representative McDonald, is here, and you, Representative McDonald, you've heard some of the discussion that your bill has been a catalyst for sure, but it's really a much bigger issue than your bill. Why don't you? Would you mind sharing with us what you're thinking and what you would like to maybe see happen?
Thank you. I'd be happy to. I'd like to start by thanking the commissioner for his time for coming out to the islands. I know that was very much appreciated by islanders, and thank you for being here today. And then I want to push back a little bit because this bill actually didn't come from the Got Boat. That was just really timely. It was brought to me during the 129th, but it was during the second session, and so I couldn't submit it at that time. So the Got Boat is an example of this type of conversation, but it wasn't the catalyst. And then I really want to reiterate that Frenchboro is not asking for additional service. We're all aware that there are some difficult conversations ahead. I'm happy to lend my time to a working group. I know there are some financial issues. We're all very well aware of that. Municipal contributions may be something that come into play in the future. I think we're all aware of that at this point. Frenchboro just really wants to have an equal voice in those conversations. So that really is all this bill is. So thank you for your time.
Representative McDonald, would you, you heard the commissioner suggest maybe there's going to be some work done on this, and again, this bill and the next one has been helpful to get that started. Are you in line, or you support the committee moving in that direction where we ask the department to do something if that's what the committee decides to do?
I mean, ideally, in my mind, I still have this as a minor housekeeping, and I would rather see that attached to the second bill on Matinicus, but that, I'm the sponsor, so that's sort of my personal preference. I want to see Frenchboro have equality first, but no, I'm happy to go forward and would like to participate in whatever you choose for next steps.
And by the way, congratulations on the article in the University of Maine alumni. That was very impressive.
Thank you.
Questions? Yes, Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I get hung up a little bit on cherry picking, right? We got these two bills. What else is going to come before us with these? And we've heard the commissioner come before us and say this is a larger issue than just these two bills. I mean, I wrote down some notes while I was going through this, operational efficiencies, trying to find some different funding mechanisms, all of this. And even though I agree that the commissioner and the DOT does a good job of managing these things, I still think it is our responsibility as the committee of jurisdiction that we kind of set the tone on what the expectation is. So while I'm not supportive of these two bills because they do that cherry picking thing, I would very much support the committee's forming a letter outlining some of the things of forming a working group. Sorry, Commissioner, I know your people, especially this time of year, work very, very hard with the challenges of funding and snow removal and everything else that's going on. But I think that this is a much larger issue, and the stakeholders on that could be financial people, operational people, island, from the committee that you have already, the sponsor, somebody from transportation. I mean, you can make it too big so you don't get anything done. And I don't think we need to get down into the weeds to that point, but I would totally support the committee sending a letter asking the commissioner to form that working group and report back to us in the second session of the 130th.
Thank you, Senator Farren. Other comments? Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question to the good Senator Farren. I'm assuming that, I agree with having the committee send a letter to the commissioner's office, as much as it might burden him, but I've been there and it's doable. What would your follow-up motion be, Senator Farren? I mean, clearly we need a motion. And if we're going to move in that direction, a couple of options would be ought not to pass, and have along with that motion ought not to pass, and have the committee draft a letter asking the department for additional information. Another option would be, in lieu of ought not to pass, I suppose we could take LD 43, and I know we're not going to vote on the other bill here, 234, but we can discuss it and maybe carry that over till next year. For example, if it's the intent of the committee to have the department report back to us, let's say January 1st of next year, if in fact we carried the bills rather than killing them, they wouldn't have to be reintroduced. That's just an option, and I'm not necessarily prepared to make that motion, but I just wanted to get some input from you, Senator, to see where you're going with your comment.
Senator Farren, you'd like to respond?
Sure. I really hadn't thought about the carry, because then you get into, do you carry over both bills so you're not showing favoritism to one or the other, or if we get other ones coming forward. So I really hadn't given that a lot of thought. I think that the relationship that this committee has with the department, that if we send that letter and we know that we have it on our radar, that the department will follow through and come back to us with some recommendations, that we could always do a committee bill or something along those lines to rectify and put them all together. So I'm not hard fast against that, Representative Martin. I'd be open to discussion among the committee members. My intent would be to do ought not to pass on both and with the letter piece, but this is why we have the work session and listen to other committee members on their input as well.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Perry.
Yeah, I agree with Senator Farren. I think the ought not to pass of the letter is probably the way to go. I don't know, and maybe the commissioner can answer this. Is this really a long-term, is this something that, I hate saying it this way, the department could throw together by next January? Or is this something that really needs time? Because it's such a big issue. It's something that, the overall, ferry service situation and funding and everything else. We always talk about 50% of the box, and we've been subsidizing a higher percentage, even though in statute it does say 50% from the highway fund. But also remember that we pay for all the boats, all the terminals, all the, so it's really not 50% of the cost. It's 50% of operation, I guess. I don't know if that's the proper word or not, but the highway fund pays a lot more in that's not part of that 50%. So I really think that we should make sure the department has plenty of time, because I think this is an issue that's bigger than, give us a report back in 6 months type of deal, or 8 months, or whatever it would be. And we should kind of lean on the commissioner on what the best way to go on that part of this is.
Thank you, Representative Perry. Commissioner, you don't have to respond because we're going to get into that more, but I didn't know if you might have something on the tip of your tongue you wanted to say regarding what Representative Perry said.
Just very briefly in response, Representative Perry's right. That's just the operational cost. We also, in our work plan, have, for example, $47 million over the next 3 years on ferry-related infrastructure, including 2 new boats. So there is more to it. Again, I think we need to maintain good access to these island communities. Let's not lose sight of that. That's always a given. In terms of this is not something you can slap together for multiple reasons. One, the issues themselves are complex. When you're talking about a ferry service, different models, what technology is available. Second, the process involved. I mean, I was talking about trying to put a working group to kind of get under the hood, and then you come up with a few ideas. You have to put them all out there to the world. And I will tell you that will spawn a request for 6 island visits, very quickly. And you can't do that, but that's what the expectation will be. And so I think we could have a quality report back as to what we found thus far by early next year. But the idea that we're going to have, we know exactly what to do, and here's the comprehensive ferry service funding and operations transformation bill ready to go, especially given that in a time of COVID, that's not the best way to connect with people. It would be something where I would actually get past that so we can actually have some face-to-face conversations. So quality update, I guess I could say, is definitely a report back, and we could give you some findings, especially given whatever the outlines of your directive is, and we can go from there.
The report back does not mean you report back with a finalized report. It means you're just reporting back. So as Representative Perry indicated, that wouldn't put you in a box necessarily, because we wouldn't say you have to have an answer by any given time if we did that. Senator Chipman.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. So a number of us were told at the beginning of this year or late last year that the way we're doing things now online, if there were bills that needed more time, not to feel like we needed to dispose of them right now, that rather the thing to do would be to carry them over and give them some additional time. I mean, I really don't see any harm in carrying these bills over. And come next January, February, March, if we can't do anything or we haven't had enough time to do what needs to be done, we could always vote ought not to pass at that time. But I don't see any reason to vote ought not to pass at this time. I mean, I'd be more favorable to a carryover, maybe with a letter to the department, and see what we can do over the next several months to put all these issues together and look at them collectively. But I think out of respect for the sponsor and all the time that's gone onto this now for a second time, because I know it was introduced last session as well and wasn't able to pass because we adjourned abruptly. I'd much rather favor a carryover, to table the bill for carryover and a letter at this point.
Okay, thank you, Representative White.
Yes, thank you, Senator. If I was living on the island, this one, Frenchboro, and then I saw us hesitate on this, I'd be getting a little nervous. So, I mean, even it doesn't sound like it's the intent of the anybody to change the service in any way. And if they do, there's a process for that. So I still see no harm in changing the wording from may to shall, and then addressing the bigger issue as we've been discussing. So I'm still in favor of moving this bill forward and just correcting the language, and just help put some people's minds to ease. And again, I don't think there's any intent of making any major changes anyway. So that's just my little bit of input. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative White. Other questions from the committee to the commissioner, or questions to anyone, or comments? Seeing none. Representative Martin, Tom Martin, did your hand came up, or did you have a question? Representative Tom Martin? No, okay. Here's one that I've been thinking of since we've had this discussion with the public hearing. My concern in regarding what Senator Chipman said, I think he made a good point. However, if it was just these two bills or just this bill, I guess I would say, okay, maybe the carryover would make sense. But my sense is from different conversations that we have, not only do we have some other ferry issue bills, but we have some bills that are somewhat related to ferry service issues. And I'm really concerned about just keep carrying them over and over and over. Doesn't mean I wouldn't support it. I'm just bringing that out as an issue where if we know there's going to be a comprehensive study and comprehensive report with engaging all the principals, I don't know what the advantage would be to carry it over. I mean, if we say to the commissioner and to the department and make sure, and to the sponsor, and the sponsor carries that messages, and not only this bill, but the next one, that we are serious about this, the department's serious about this, they're going to report back to us at the beginning of the next session as to the kind of progress that's being made, which will give us a chance at that point to step in if we feel concerned and we need to do something else, we could. But my sense is, in terms of efficiency, it would make sense we really want to do is have the commissioner and the department make a thorough study, engaging everybody that has a concern here, and that's what I hope we can do. So anyway, that's where I'm thinking. And anybody else? Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree. And I also think, to comment on Representative White's comments is I understand that, but I also think it's, we can't just necessarily pass along legislation to make folks feel better. Is that it's been recognized that the service there, they're not asking for more. And this bill has been an avenue to open up those other items. And I think that to the sponsor and to the folks that are listening in, thank you for that, because I think the commissioners come forward and identified that we have those. So I'm going to make a motion of ought not to pass, with us sending a letter concerning the working group and a report back, looking at all of the things that the commissioner said, and we can work on the letter as the committee. Operational efficiency, the financing, and all that other stuff.
I second that.
I'd like to second that motion. Can you not see me? Can anybody see me?
No, I can't. Are you clicking the hand on your list on the right-hand side? That's where, otherwise I don't see everybody.
Okay.
You know how to do that, Rich? On the right-hand side, you just click raise hand. Okay, perfect. And I'm sorry about that, Representative Seabrook. The motion was made ought not to pass with a letter, and before we have a second, but I do have a clarification I'd like to ask Senator Farren. In regards to the letter, are you suggesting that within that letter we include the concerns raised in this bill in 43? So that's definitely part of the conversation, even though it would be anyway, but out of respect for the sponsor, that we want to make sure that with the included to be reviewed what this bill would actually do.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're essentially getting that information out there. Okay. Yes, Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion has been made, seconded. Are we going to vote on that and then hold discussion?
No, we're going to discuss it, then we will vote on it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah, I can support that motion with the proviso that the committee, especially the chairs and maybe the leads, or maybe the entire committee, has an opportunity to view the letter that's being drafted before it's sent to DOT. And with that in mind, I could support the pending motion.
And that was included, Senator Farren, I'm assuming, in your motion?
Absolutely.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Seeing none, the motion has been made ought not to pass with the proviso that their letter be sent to the department asking, or having the department do this thorough review and including in that letter specifically the items that were mentioned, the concern mentioned in LD 43, and also to make sure that the committee will get a review of that letter before it is sent, and then it'll be sent to the department. That's as the motion was made. That's how it was seconded, and I see no more discussions. All those in favor, and we need
Karen's
to do.
hands up.
I'm sorry, I didn't see a hand. Where is it?
Karen.
Karen.
So it's standard practice that when an analyst drafts what we call ought not to pass letters, we have the chairs look at it. But am I to understand the request is that the chairs and leads review it?
I would like, yeah, go ahead, Karen, I'm sorry.
Or the whole committee?
I would like to have, I'd like to have the committee, it was the intent of the motion. If we could just let the whole committee just see it, it'll have to be a quick turnaround, but like I'll have the committee itself review it.
Okay.
Great, thank you. I know it's unusual, but in this case, I think,
just real quick.
Yes, Representative.
It probably should go to the chairs and leads and just to see what the letter is. Send it to all of us at some point.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
But you know, you guys look at it first and make sure it's all right with all four of you, and then get, you know, don't bring it to us first.
Oh no, you'll be the last one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure you're the last one, Representative Perry.
Again, that's standard practice.
Okay.
That we send these letters to the whole committee once.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you, Karen. All right. Other comments, questions? Motion's been made and seconded. We've had a motion. We've have a motion now for a vote. Darlene, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, everybody turn your mics on. And if anybody on the committees doesn't have their camera on, that needs to be on as well. Senator Chipman. Okay, Representative Perry.
Yes.
Representative Williams. I don't see her. Senator Chipman. He's walked away. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Diamond.
Yes.
Representative Martin. Danny.
Yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Bruce White.
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin.
Yes.
Representative O'Connell.
Yes.
And Representative Seabra.
Yes.
Any of
10 in
the,
the,
yeah, go ahead, Darlene.
10 in the affirmative, 3 absent.
Any of the absent, have they returned?
I don't see them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If they come back though, they can vote at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good discussion. Thank you, Commissioner. The next bill is LD 234, an act to amend the law concerning the annual number of ferry service trips to Matinicus Isle, sponsored by Representative Matlack. George, we pretty much, I think, are on a course here. Senator Farren. Oh, excuse me. I want to make sure that I should go to Karen first. Karen, can you give us a review quickly?
Sure. So right now in current law, it provides that the ferry service must run at least 12 times per year and may run up to 36 times per year. And what this bill proposes to do is to remove that cap of 36 times per year, so that it could be more if needed. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I did post the testimony on the or a summary of testimony on the committee's webpage.
Okay, thank you. Questions of Karen before we proceed? Representative Perry?
Not really a question. I was just gonna make an ought not to pass with a letter, exactly like the last bill.
Okay. Did you say that was a motion, Representative Perry?
Yeah, motion ought not to pass with a letter. Kind of put this bill with that last bill.
Thank you. And we'll have any questions of Karen after we get the second on this. Is there a second on that
Second.
motion? Second, thank
Second.
you. Now, I think we can consider as a committee that the letter we send could include both of those bills, but we can think about that after. Representative Perkins.
No, I was just seconding, sir. Sorry about that. I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Other committee questions? The sponsor, Representative Matlack, is asked to make a comment. Yes.
Thank you, sir. This bill is, as you know, a bit different than the one for French Borough. Currently, we have a mandated service out to Matinicus of at least 12 a year. Last year, the ferry service exceeded the 36 per year. So there is a demand for service right now. And because of the nature of the service out to Matinicus, it's not scheduled as regularly. And so, especially in the wintertime, it's on an as needed basis. So just removing the cap from Matinicus would allow for the island to be able to receive fuel, receive other things that are necessary for life on the island at times in the winter when it's necessary. I think it's a bit different than the previous bill, and I would appreciate an understanding that that is what's happening here.
Thank you, Representative Matlack. We appreciate that clarification. Other questions? I would remind the committee that and the representative that the letter and the review would include any and all of that as well, just so you'd know that will happen. It won't be left out, and that'll be part of the direction. Questions from the committee? Other questions? Seeing none, motion's been made. Ought not to pass with a letter, and it was seconded. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, Darlene?
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams, absent. Representative Dustin White is absent. Senator Chipman, absent. Senator Farren,
Yes.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Matton,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Matt Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Matton,
Yes.
Representative Kevin O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Rich Zebra.
Yes.
10 in the affirmative, 3 absent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll close the work session on LD 234. We'll now go to the third of the day, and that is LD 230. LD 230, an act to allow low beam headlights on motorcycles to flash during daytime hours, presented by Senator Marymount of Knox. Karen.
Actually, I was, so.
Oh, you're doing those two?
No, Sam is doing the rest of the work session. But a point of clarification on the two that you just voted, do you want 2 separate letters or do you want me to combine?
Who made the motion? The motion was made by?
Well, on the second bill, it was Representative Perry. On the first bill, I
Okay.
believe it was Senator Farren.
Representative Perry, did you intend on a separate letter?
I think it's up to the committee, but I put it as one letter because it's dealing with ferry service issue.
If the committee is okay with it, one letter, we can cover it all. And then again, you'll get a chance to take a peek at it before it goes out. So is that okay with the committee? Anybody have a problem? Raise your hand, please. Seeing none. Okay, Karen, got that?
Thank you.
All right, Sam, LD 230.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. I sent out the bill analyses this morning to the committee. Does everyone have a copy before I get started?
Everybody else set?
Okay.
I will assume yes.
Okay. So, and would you like me to go through the testimony, the summary of the testimony for the committee
Yeah,
again?
in a summarizing kind of way, it'd be good. Yes.
Okay, great. So Again, this is LD 230, an act to allow low beam headlights on motorcycles to flash during daytime hours. This bill allows the operator of a motorcycle to use a flashing low beam headlight during the daytime. And I just want to, one quick note before I read the testimony, or the summary of the testimony, and this applies to all the bill analyses I'm going to do for you. You know, the summaries I provide are just an effort to distill the main points brought up at the public hearing, and that if you're looking for a full, representation of someone's testimony, I just refer you back to their written testimony that they've submitted. So proponents of the bill noted that manufacturers of motorcycles do not allow for switching the headlight off at any time, and that having headlights on during the operation increases the visibility of motorcycles, and many states require running daytime lights. And that adding clear permission in statute to run these lights maximizes the safety and removes the guesswork from enforcement. Opponents of the bill noted that allowing flashing lights on motorcycles would be very distracting and perhaps cause more harm than good. They noted that current law only allows flashing lights on emergency vehicles and school buses, and argued that allowing such lights on motorcycles might trick motorists into thinking that an emergency vehicle is coming, or desensitize operators to flashing lights. And they also noted that current law allows for a motorcycle to have modulating headlight, which they say is safer and meets federal motor vehicle safety standards, and is permitted in all 50 states. And I think they argued that would serve essentially the same purpose as this flashing light. And they clarified that the difference is that a modulating headlight goes from dim to bright, but does not completely shut off in between. I gave you a summary of current statutes. These are just partial excerpts. Currently, a motorcycle that does not have an adequate beam for headlights is restricted to daytime operation. And that a vehicle must be equipped with headlights, and the headlights must be illuminated during the period from sunset to sunrise, and at any time when, due to insufficient light or unfavorable atmospheric conditions, persons or vehicles on the way are not discernible for a distance of 1,000 feet ahead, and at any time when windshield wipers would be in constant use. I also noted that flashing headlights are currently unlawful except on emergency vehicles, highway maintenance vehicles, and school buses. And you'll notice on the bill analysis for each of those reference sections, you can actually click on the section, and it will take you to the webpage where that's located. One final note on the bill is that the sponsor had requested, I think during the public hearing, to amend the bill to allow for the use of a modulating headlight that sequences between high and low beams. And I looked into the modulating headlight thing. I spoke to Lieutenant Bruce Scott from the state police, and he noted that the modulating headlights are currently allowed, but they are not addressed in Maine statute, and they are permissible under federal motor vehicle safety standards. So that's what I have. I don't really have any technical notes for this bill. It's pretty clear it's drafted. Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam, in regards to the statements you made as to who supported the bill and who was opposed it, could you, for the record, state, and for the benefit of the committee members, the agency or department that supports it and the individual or so that opposes it?
Yeah, sure. Yes, Representative Martin. On my list for proponents of the bill, I had the sponsor, which was Senator Miramont. And for opponents of the bill, I had the state police. And those were the only two on my list of who had testified. And I apologize if I missed anybody.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Just for clarification, Sam, so regarding his proposed amendment, amend it to modulating instead of flashing, that's already permissible under federal law, you said, and it's silent in state law?
Yeah, my understanding is that so the main statutes don't address the modulating headlights, but I think the way I understand current law is that they're a permissible headlight to have on a vehicle under state law. They're just not explicitly addressed
Got it.
anywhere.
Thank you. Representative Perkins has a question.
Not so much a question, sir, but by law, headlights are supposed to be on all the time on motorcycles. There is no, they can't have them off. That by law, they are supposed to have them on. I'd like to make a motion to this too, is I'd like to make a motion ought not to pass. We heard from Lieutenant
Motion is
Scott.
made, ought not to pass. Is there a second?
Second,
Second. Who made the second?
me, Wayne.
Made. Thank you very much, Representative Perry. Discussion. Representative Perkins, your hand is still up. Are you still, okay, very good. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, motion's been made, ought not to pass. All those in, oh, excuse me, Darlene, will you take us through it?
I will. Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams. You need to unmute, all of you.
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Representative Dustin White, not here. Senator Chipman, not seeing him. Senator Farren,
Yes.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin. Oh, he disappeared. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seabra.
Yes.
Okay. 9 in the affirmative and 4 absent. But wait a minute.
Motion-
10 to 3. 10-3.
Motion ought not to pass, passes 10 to 3. That closes the work session on LD 230. We'll now go to LD 236, an act to amend the definition of reportable accident presented by Representative Hepler of Woolwich. Sam,
Hey, Landon.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Okay,
somebody's got the,
is everybody okay?
all right?
So this bill amends the definition of reportable accident in the motor vehicle provisions by adding an accident that results in the injury or death of a domestic animal. For proponents of the bill, I have noted the sponsor, and as that's Representative Hepler, and then also Marge Kilkelly. Proponents had testified at the public hearing that the bill was submitted in response to a constituent whose dog was seriously injured by a vehicle that did not stop. That the bill is not intended to create more bureaucracy, but as a way to hold drivers accountable. They argued that it ensures that pet owners will learn of an injury and will possibly be able to recoup some of the costs of injuries to their domestic animals. That passage of this bill would remind drivers to do their best to stop and look for the owner of an animal they hit. That under current law, property damage of more than $1,000 must be reported, but there are concerns about pets that do not meet the $1,000 monetary value. And that it is not uncommon for states to have this reportability for domestic animal accidents. And that some states use animal welfare statutes as well, and defining cruelty to animals as leaving the scene of an accident. Opponents to the bill that I had noted were the state police and the Professional Logging Contractors of Maine, who had noted in their testimony that adding a domestic animal to the reportable accident definition would require a full investigation and reporting requirements if a domestic animal was injured in a crash. That current law already requires an investigation and report if there is an injury to a person or damage to property of $1,000 or more, and a pet is considered property. That as written, a person who hits a cat, ferret, gerbil, etc., would be required to stop and report the crash. If the operator drove away from the scene, they would be committing a crime. The bill, they say, does not require that the operator knowingly hit a domestic animal, only that they hit it. They also noted that as written, if a domestic animal was riding in the vehicle with you and that animal jumps out of the window while you were driving that caused a bodily injury, you would also be required to immediately stop the vehicle and report the crash. They noted that domestic animal is not defined in Title 29A, and it's unclear which animals this law would apply to. They argue that creating an accident on a motorist's driving record will likely cause insurance rates to increase for individuals as well as industry operators. They noted that there will be times when police officers would have to be called out to investigate these new classes of crashes, creating a potential fiscal impact, and argue that as written, a collision with a vehicle over 10,000 pounds, such as a logging truck, could trigger a commercial vehicle investigation and economic losses to the company and supply chain, and it could lead to increased pressure on already strained commercial vehicle inspection group in the state police. Additionally, after the public hearing, we received written testimony from the Bicycle Coalition of Maine, and in that testimony, they recommended it was neither for nor against, and they recommended changing the language in the bill from addressing an accident to crash. So I summarized some of the current law here for you, just about what a reportable accident is, and also noted that this triggers the Class E crime provision, and there's some violation of that section. Violation of the reportable accident provision triggers the Class C crime provision, and I put those both on your bill analyses. I noted a technical issue in this bill, which was brought up during the public hearing, that domestic animal is not defined in 29A, and that it is that it is unclear what kind of animals this would apply to. Things that the committee might want to consider if it were inclined to go forward with this is whether you would like to identify all animals that are owned by a person, or only animals that live inside of a person's home. Those are just things to get you thinking. In my notes section, I did receive a request from the sponsor, Representative Hepler, to amend the bill based on comments at the public hearing, and I'm just going to read through a summary of what the requested amendment would be. The requested amendment would one, require the operator of a vehicle that has hit a domestic animal to notify the animal's owner, like the process provided in another section of statute, section 2255, instead of making a collision with a domestic animal a reportable accident. It wouldn't trigger the reportable accident provisions that were mentioned by the state police in the investigation. The second part would only require the operator of the vehicle that has hit a domestic animal to notify the police if the operator is not able to notify the animal's owner. The third piece of this would specify that the requirement to notify the animal's owner only would apply if the operator knowingly hit the domestic animal, which I believe is meant to address the piece of what happens if you hit an animal and don't know it. And then the last piece of this would be to make the penalty for violation of this requirement a traffic infraction rather than a criminal offense. And that is what I have. Are there questions?
Questions from the committee regarding that report and everything that went with Representative Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam, the proposed amendment that you just alluded to from the sponsor, I believe, has that been circulated to the committee members?
It has not. I put the summary of the amendment in my bill analysis under the notes section. There is not full language yet. I felt that the bullets would make it easier for the committee to discuss if you were interested in going that way. And as with all amendments, I would bring the actual language back to you if that's how you voted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm still concerned that there's no definition of domestic animal. I mean, I'm an attorney and I read the statutes and so on. And I'm concerned that what are we going to consider an accident that you need to seek the owner? And if you can't find the owner or identify the owner, then the police. That's, even though it's only now considered a traffic infraction, it's still a big thing. And with that, I think we have a problem without a definition of domestic animal. Thank you.
That's very nice. Thank you very much. Representative Perkins.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. I have a problem with giving someone a summons for an infraction, traffic infraction for a dog at large, but we have leash laws. So to me, that really bothers me that it's your dog. I would hate to hit a dog or a cat or someone's personal pet or a pet goat or a pet pig, but you still have laws that you're supposed to have your animal under control. So I would, it doesn't sit right with me giving someone a summons for a dog running in the road. And then of course the guy has to get out and find whose dog it is. And then some pet owners will be very irate and even cause bigger problems. I've actually hit a dog before on my motorcycle and I had to go I found the owner because that's the right thing to do. But that's me. I'm also a guy, not a young lady. And I feel worried you're going to give a tractor truck driver an infraction, a summons for the same thing for hitting a dog at large. It doesn't sit right with me and I would not lean towards the happy side of this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments of Representative Perry?
Yeah, I'd make a motion ought not to pass.
Motion is
Second.
made not to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Discussion. One of the things that bothers me, although I really side with wanting to protect animals, certainly that's something we all want, I suspect. What bothers me about it is the traffic infraction, knowing how that impacts CDL drivers in particular, but also anybody. And I also think the issue about the dogs at large piece. And then I think Representative Williams made an excellent point about the no definition, the lack of a definition for domestic animal. So I think there's more work to be done here. And although sympathize with the intent for sure. Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to echo your comments. I think we all would like to protect animals and make that, but the personal responsibility piece that Representative Perkins mentioned, as well as the joint liability and the whole, I think it opens up a bigger can of worms that Representative Williams even was talking about, that definition and everything else. So with that being said, I'll be supporting the motion of ought not to pass.
Representative Danny Martin, thank you, Senator. Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I was just convinced by Representative Williams to support the pending motion. Were I her client, I think she just stated she'd have a hard time supporting my case. So I will be supporting the pending motion.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Other comments? Seeing none, there is a motion, ought not to pass, made and seconded. Darlene.
Representative Perry.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Yes.
Representative Dustin White. Not seeing him. Senator Chipman.
Yes.
Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Diamond.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Bruce White.
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin. Oh, I can barely hear you. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seabrook.
Yes.
Thank you. 11 in favor and 1 absent. 12 in favor, 1 absent.
Motion not to pass, passes 12-0 with one absent. We'll close the work session on LD 236. We'll now open the work session on LD 228, an act to allow a central lane of a restricted highway, which was presented by Senator Carney of Cumberland. Sam.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Okay, this bill clarifies that on a limited access highway with a speed limit of 65 miles per hour or more, a motor vehicle operator is restricted in ordinary operation to the right-hand lane and all center lanes, and may use the leftmost lane for overtaking and passing of another vehicle. Just to put that into a slightly more plain language, the bill would allow basically regular travel in the center lane of a 3-lane highway. Testifying in support of this bill was the sponsor, Senator Carney, and also Representative Breckett. The opponents of the bill were the Maine Turnpike Authority, State Police, and Maine Motor Transport. Additionally, Representative Kinney had testified that she had submitted a similar bill regarding truck travel in the leftmost lane. The proponents at the public hearing noted that current statute requires drivers to return to the right-hand lane at the earliest opportunity after passing, that this is not how most people drive in Maine's three-lane highways, and that it is common practice for cars to travel in the center lane. That travel in the center lane is so prevalent that passage of this bill would not change traffic patterns or impact safety, and that this bill is not meant to address restrictions on truck drivers, which are currently restricted from using the leftmost lane by Turnpike Authority rule, and that they noted that whether trucks may use the leftmost lane is an important consideration, but it did not need to be addressed to pass this bill. Opponents at the public hearing noted that truck travel has been prohibited from the leftmost lane on 3-lane portions of the turnpike since 2004, that trucks thus must rely on the center lane for passing, and that the restriction was originally passed due to safety concerns as well as Maine's former status of non-attainment with federal clean air regulations. That allowing regular travel in the center lane would cause trucks to lose their ability to use the center lane for passing of slower traffic, and that slow travel in the center lane without the ability for trucks to pass would lead to disparate speeds and congestion, creating highway safety issues. I had really just put a summary of the current law. It's in the section that this bill amends for you here on the page. And that's just that on a limited access highway with a speed limit of 65 miles per hour or more, operation is restricted, regular operation is restricted to the right-hand lane, and that the adjacent lanes, the center and the left, may be used for overtaking or passing of another vehicle. The law applies to all operators regardless of the vehicle, and the prohibition on trucks from using the leftmost lane is indeed per Maine Turnpike Authority rule. A couple of just technical issues I noticed in this bill as drafted, if you're thinking about moving forward with it. The bill as drafted appears to apply to all operators and does not distinguish between trucks and other motor vehicles. So the language used in this draft would actually allow trucks to use the leftmost lane for passing, which would override the current Turnpike Authority rule. And I put it in quotes on the bill analysis. You can see it clearly says restricted in ordinary operation to the right-hand lane and all center lanes, and may use the leftmost lane for overtaking or passing of another vehicle. And that's because the law addresses the operators and not specific vehicles being driven. And then another technical issue I noted is that as drafted, this bill is not clear about whether operators traveling in the center lane can in fact pass cars in the right-hand lane. So I just wanted to make the committee aware of that. If you are inclined to go forward, those are easy technical things to clean up, but I would suggest cleaning them up if you are inclined to go forward. And then just the final note is we have not received the bill that Representative Kennedy testified about yet. But if we do receive that bill about trucks traveling or passing the leftmost lane on a 3-lane highway, these two would touch the same area of law. And so if you were inclined to go forward with either or both, it may be beneficial to do it in the same vehicle.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Sam. Are there questions from the committee of Sam or just questions? Representative Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Diamond. Yeah, from the testimony, I concur with some of the people that talked about it could be problematic, and with what Sam just brought up. Coming up in June, I will have had my commercial driver's license for 40 years. So I'm somebody that knows firsthand that this could be problematic if we have people just riding in that center lane. I would make a motion ought not to pass.
Motion is made ought not to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Mike
thank you.
Perkins.
Representative Perkins, did you have a question or was that just a second? Your mic is on.
Just a second, sir.
Okay.
Just a second. Thank you.
I want to ask, is Director Mills with us, Darlene?
He is.
Could he come on? Could he join us?
He's on.
Okay.
He's gotta turn his mic on.
Main Turnpike Director Mills,
Right here.
you with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. If you answer the question that if the truck issue was solved, that is, first let me ask you, would you think it's wise for the trucks to be able to use the left lane? And then whatever your answer is there, I'll have a follow-up question in the future, I mean.
As Sam, Mr. Chairman, as Sam correctly pointed out, the initial impetus, when the Turnpike was in the process of designing and building Maine's first 3-lane limited access highway, or 3 lanes in each direction, this was when it first arose. And the original impetus back in 1998 or 99 there was some thought that keeping the trucks out of the left lane would perhaps reduce air emissions very slightly and thus assist Maine in not exacerbating the situation. They were out of compliance with air quality standards at the time. That's no longer the case. That doesn't mean we should just go out and change rules because we don't have the same impetus for doing so. But there is an independent concern that, and other states share this, some other states do, and that is that keeping trucks out of the very left lane is good for safety reasons. I don't know if many of you may remember that when the Turnpike was originally built, it has an 18-foot median. That's the same distance we have today. But originally there was no barrier at all. And there were some frightful accidents occurring when anybody in the left lane would cross over and collide head on at a relative closing speed of 120 or 30 miles an hour with oncoming vehicles. We've put guardrail all up and down the center from mile 0 all the way up to mile 44 here. And it helps, but trailer trucks can get through the barrier. We've had some cases where they have, and there have been fatal accidents resulting from it. And so it is a safety measure. My engineering staff certainly, I haven't talked to my board, but the engineering staff would certainly be inclined to retain the current rule. And we do have signage up. I think we have 7 or 8 signs up in the area that's affected by this.
So
our instinct is that it should be preserved for safety reasons. And if we change the rule about the center lane, then it does create an issue for the trucks, and the two issues need to be discussed really conjointly.
Thank you, Mr. Director. So regarding the center lane piece and leaving the truck on the left lane for a moment, you had stated during the public hearing your concerns about that. Is there anything else that you would like to add or that you didn't include for the committee to hear?
Well, it's just the utility of it is, the minimum speed limit on the road is 45 miles an hour. And if somebody that wants to drive at 45 or 50 miles an hour decides to go over, if he's in the right-hand lane, well, all right, well, then you can get by that person. But if the person is driving in the center lane, it makes it a bit more awkward, certainly. And it does give a police officer the opportunity to pull somebody over and say, what's the issue? Why are you driving so slowly in the middle of the road like that? And maybe there's a reason. I mean, if they've got a disabled motor vehicle or they've got some health problem going on, but I don't know. It's a useful law, and it does help to organize how traffic proceeds down the road. I don't know. The state police testified that it had been I think they said that they'd issued 10. I couldn't tell if he said that they had issued 10 citations or whether they had merely tried to enforce it 10 times by pulling someone over. I wasn't clear on what Bruce Scott was saying from the Maine State Police. But it does strike me. I mean, to give the sponsor, I think, was reminding us that this is one of those provisions that you'd be surprised to get a ticket for. I think if it's used, my sense is if it's used at all, it's used by the state police to try to clear up a traffic issue that is looming up ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Any questions of Director Mills before we leave him, albeit temporarily? Seeing none. Senator Carney, the sponsor, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. And thank you for all of the time and attention you've invested in LD 228. I just wanted to acknowledge the concerns that have been raised by the Maine Turnpike Authority. I appreciate in particular the safety concerns about having trucks in the far left lane and hadn't really considered that when I offered the bill. And so I just want to express appreciation for the policy of putting safety first and really elevating that in this discussion. And I don't really have anything further to add. I can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Senator Carney. Can you help us get over the concern about what would happen in the center lane if it becomes used as in the same manner as the right lane, that is slower traffic, maybe become a concern, and it wouldn't be the availability of the police to have that person move over or at least question them as to what's going on. My concern is, I think that's one of the issues that's causing concern in the committee is, can you help us with how to relieve or alleviate those concerns?
I mean, I will stick with what I said initially. My experience of traveling on the turnpike and everybody who I've kind of vetted this bill with was really surprised, signage notwithstanding, that you're not allowed to travel in the center lane. And so I sincerely think that we won't actually see a difference. I also, appreciate, again, I don't want to inadvertently shift truck traffic over to the leftmost lane because I can appreciate how that is a really significant safety issue, as well as probably less significant, but also important an environmental issue. And so I'm actually kind of more concerned about the trucks in the left lane than I am about having the center lane be a passing lane. I don't think that would impact the way people use the highway.
For the trucks' current law, the center lane is their passing lane. And
correct.
So that's what it is. Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us. And if anything else comes up prior to our finishing, please come aboard and talk to us. Other questions? Other questions from the committee? Seeing none. We do have a motion that ought not to pass. It's been seconded. Last chance for anybody to ask questions. Seeing none, the motion's been made, ought not to pass, been seconded. Darlene?
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams. Can't hear you. Turn your mics on. All of you.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative White, not here. Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin,
Yes.
Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Zebra.
Yes.
12 in the affirmative and 1 absent.
Motion ought not to pass, passes 12 to 0 to 1 absent. Therefore, we'll close, ought not to pass, we'll close the work session on LD 228. Thank you for being with us, Senator Carney.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
before we switch to the public hearings, because everybody's here, can I get the missing votes on the earlier bills?
Yes, can we do that? We'll go back to 43. It was 10 to 3, ought not to pass. Go ahead
Right.
on that one.
Representative Williams?
Yes, with the majority.
Okay. And Senator Chipman?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that one's good. Then the next one is 234, which was again, Senator Chipman?
The motion was ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass, yes.
10 to 3.
And the vote was 10 to 3? Oh, to 3 that weren't there. Okay. Yeah, I'll vote with the majority.
Okay, and Representative Williams?
Yes, same with the majority.
Okay. 230 was Senator Chipman, again, ought not to pass, unanimous.
Yeah.
With the 3 of them. And Representative Tom Martin?
Yes.
Thank you. That was the one I didn't hear you on. And, okay, that's it. We got them all,
Okay.
except for Representative Dustin White.
Thank you very much. Well done. We're just an hour and a half in and we have, I think that was a heavier lift. So now we will well, I'm going to get my stuff organized. So if you give me 5 minutes, everybody want to take a little 5-minute break and we'll.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
as I mentioned to you earlier, I've got another commitment at 3:15 in Caribou. And
Yes.
unfortunately, I must leave the meeting and wish you all well.
Well, thank you for being with us and good luck at your meeting. I hope it goes well and we'll talk afterwards. Okay, just to give me 5 and we'll get right back into the rest of this. Okay, everybody here? Darlene. Darlene back? Nope.
Hey, Representative Bryant, I like that. Just move to the side, one side or the other. It looks like you got I like that. Twins. You only get one vote though. Only one.
That way I could walk away and they know I'm right there.
Okay, Darlene back yet? Yes, no. Yes. Perfect. Okay, everybody here? Darlene, you all set?
I am.
All right, very good. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the public hearings today. We're going to be having 6 public hearings as it looks here, and thank you for being with us. Before we start, this is an electronic meeting, so hang with us. The meeting is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. All participants via Zoom can be seen and heard if the mic is on. Testifiers cannot be seen or heard until they are recognized by the chair. Meeting is also recorded and available on the committee's YouTube after the meeting is concluded. Remind everybody, make sure your name appears as it should be. Hearing will start with the sponsor, followed by co-sponsors, followed by the public based on how they prefer to testify. That would be those who are speaking as proponents, followed by those who are speaking as opponents, followed by those who would speak to the committee neither for nor against. When called upon, you'll be promoted from attendee to participant. When finished, you'll be returned to the attendee status. Sorry about that. And when called upon, make sure your mic is unmuted and state your name, and please state your residence and any affiliations you have. All individuals who wish to testify must be registered in advance of the public hearing, of course, and be in order to your call to testify. Well, having said all that, and we've already met the committee, I think we'll just go right to the public hearings. And we'll start with LD 267. 267 is a resolve directing the Department of Transportation to erect and maintain markers to commemorate and recognize the Lafayette Trail. And we're very pleased to recognize the very honorable Senator Deschambault from York County. Good afternoon. Welcome, Senator Deschambault.
Well, thank you. I thought we were going to do numerically, so I have to change my numbers. I had 266 first.
There was a reason for that, Senator.
Excuse me?
There was a reason for that change.
Okay. All right. I hope, yeah, my person is here, who's going to speak afterwards. Well, hello to all of you. Nice to see you again. So I will, Senator Diamond and Representative Martin and honorable members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Susan Deschambault, and I proudly represent the people, the fine people of Alfred, Arundel, Biddeford, Dayton, Kennebunkport, and Lyman, and I give a special hello to the two representatives in my district, Representative Perry and Representative Perkins. I am here today to present LD 267, resolve directing the Department of Transportation to erect and maintain markers to commemorate and recognize the Lafayette Trail. I want to bring to your attention this bill and the next one that I will be presenting are two bills that were before the 129th session. Both had hearings, work sessions, and were voted upon, ought to pass as amended. However, these are two bills of approximately 160 bills that were left on the table, and due to the pandemic and the that we left the session, and they died in November. So that's why I'm bringing them back up. So who is Marquis Lafayette and why should we commemorate him? I'm gonna just talk about a couple of paragraphs or else I would show you this book. And I'm not gonna read it all today, but if you wanna know about Marquis Lafayette, you can read that biography on Alexander Hamilton. They were both good friends, not of me, but good friends of each other. I wasn't around then. Marquis Lafayette was born in September 1757 in France, and his full name, I'm going to show off here, Marie-Joseph Paul Yves Roch Gilbert de Montier de Marquis de Lafayette. All right? And that's how many names you had when you were born in that time. He was a military officer both in France and the United States. He married in his early teens and his wife bore him 4 children. His only son is named after another good friend of his, George Washington. At age 19, against his family's and the King Louis XVI, wishes, he arrived in the New World to join the American Revolution. As an aside, Marquis Lafayette was an orphan real early in his life. His father was killed by the British forces. So when he heard that the Americans were fighting the British, he came to the New World to help. Lafayette was trained in military and came to the attention of George Washington, who made him a member of his staff. And he met fellas like Thomas Jefferson and Monroe and Quincy Adams and a whole bunch of people. But he also met his very good friend, Alexander Hamilton, and they soon developed that friendship. He fought in the battle with Hamilton and was victorious in his role in the Revolution. Both were credited with uniting the American and French forces and fought the British in the Battle of Yorktown. George Washington made him a general, and Lafayette fought in many more battles. He eventually returned to France and took part in his country's revolution. Again, as an aside, I want you to know that after the American Revolution, and to start a new country, America, as we know it, did not have any money. And since Lafayette went back to France, they asked if Thomas Jefferson could go and ask for some money from Marquis Lafayette. And Thomas Jefferson went to France, talked to Marquis Lafayette. This is after the Revolution. And Marquis Lafayette gave to us the equivalent of over $1 million to start our own finances. At the invitation of President Monroe, Lafayette returned to the United States for a grand tour in celebration of the 50th year of the American Revolution. He was, at that time, the only living general. Well, he started at age 19. He spent nearly a year traveling the nation, being honored every step of the way. And the nation at that time was up the Eastern Seaboard. Recognizing the Lafayette Trail in Maine is part of an effort all over the Eastern Seaboard to recognize the historical significance of Lafayette. who helped secure French support for American independence and fought alongside Americans during the war. The bill was originally proposed, as I said, on the 129th. I just want to give an aside as to the significance and why I'm honored to present this. According to the history and stories of my town, Biddeford, General Lafayette visited in 1825. He visited Spring House on Spring Island in Biddeford, and from my window, I can throw a rock to it. The Spring House was built in 1798 by Colonel Seth Spring, a veteran of Bunker Hill himself. It was built as a residence and inn, and Lafayette was entertained. It was an inn here during his visit in 1825. Today, it is the office and still in operation, still looks like it may have in 1825. It is the office and showroom of the Daring Lumber Company on Route 1. So if you're ever down Biddeford Saco Way on Route 1, you can see that. Note that during this grand tour, when he was coming up the Eastern Seaboard, before he came into Maine, he stopped into Boston and Charlestown, and he laid the cornerstone of the Bunker Hill Monument. So that shows you how significant he was in there. I will direct you, and I think the Department of Transportation will speak on this. I guess I will take responsibility for this also. The bill, as you see it now, I'd like to direct your attention to page 1 of the bill. If I can find it, bear with me. Okay. Page 1 of the bill, where it says, it starts off Berwick and Kittery and what have you. We've asked them to include letter D of the bill on page 1, and that is the address of Old Berwick. What I'm about to tell you are 4 places that I'm missing. I think the important places. There's a place in Kennebunk that's missing, a place in Biddeford, and what I just told you about Saco, there is one in Saco also. So we have submitted that to them because the way the bill is written now, you see that he came in from New Hampshire, Kittery, and the next thing you know, he's from Wells to Scarborough. So we're missing 3 towns, and that's the only thing I can ask for you to look at. Julian Itcher, the founder and executive director of the Lafayette Trail, will follow me and present for you the work he has undertaken developing this trail, and it encompasses many states. Thank you, and I will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Senator DeChambeau. We really appreciate that. And we, as you said, we had engaged that in the previous session, but it's nice to have you back and talking about this as well. There is one question. Has there been an effort to, because this bill has a fiscal notice, I believe, around $10,000. Has there been any effort made to get some donations to cover that? Yep. Oh, good. You want to tell us about
Well, I can speak a little bit, and I think Julian, who's doing most of that heavy lifting, if you'll notice, the 10,000 is if this passes, states, and I hope he shows you pictures of what they've done in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Massachusetts to mark. In the state of Maine, if this passes, they'll put a mark, and all they'll say probably is Lafayette Trail. For example, the Daring Lumber, that house is authentic. We would like, and there's where the donations are coming in. The Daughters of the American Revolution, the national one, and then there's another organization Julian will talk about. We would like to put a plaque right there. The state of Maine doesn't pay for that. So they're just paying for the metal pole that says, this is the way to the Lafayette Trail.
Thank you, Senator. Questions from the committee of the senator? Yes, Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator DeChambeau. Hey, we had this conversation the last time, and
Be nice.
I'm always nice. So aren't you? No, my question is this: is Senator Diamond mentioned the fiscal note, and I just, that is a concern with where we are, and we identified on the Blue Ribbon Commission, $1 billion short fund in the gap and everything else. Just so that we're accurate when we're doing this, do you know if that fiscal note included or didn't include those stops that you mentioned that need to be updated, that need to be added in the bill title and in the bill piece?
That's what that $10,000 is.
But
You'll notice the bill says, Route 9, 250 feet from Harry's store or what have you. I mean, and this is true of every state that has already adopted this. Yeah.
Maybe I didn't clarify, but you mentioned in your testimony, right, that there was a missing piece, so like 3 stops or whatever.
Oh, those? Okay.
In
You're
those
right.
ones, I'm wondering if the fiscal note is accurate, or will it actually be a little bit more than that? And maybe you don't know that. Maybe that's something we can ask here.
And I think Julian would be able to answer that. I did not see the updated fiscal note from the Department of Transportation.
Okay,
But
thank
then
you.
again, everything goes up when you delay moving it forward. All right?
All right.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Seeing none. Senator, thank you for coming back and joining us, and we'll talk to you again on the next bill, so don't go too far.
Thank you.
So the next on my list of testifiers is Julian Eacher. Julian, are you here?
I'm here. Thank you, Senator Diamond. Dear Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Committee of Transportation. My name is Julian Ichet. I'm a French citizen. I'm the founder and president of the Lafayette Trail. I used to be a junior diplomat at the Consulate of France in Boston 2 years ago. The idea behind the Lafayette Trail is to create a conversation about the tour of the Marquis de Lafayette in the United States in 1824 in preparation for the 2024 tour bicentennial celebration. So we document, map, and mark this visit of the Marquis de Lafayette. I'd like to start with 2 things. I want to start by thanking Darlene Simoneau for, I don't know how many emails I got over the past week that were saying, if you have any question, please ask Darlene. So this was very helpful. Thank you very much. And the second thing I'd like to say is, we've been with a pandemic for over a year now. I'd like to take this moment to wish the state of Maine a very happy birthday. Last year was 200 years old. The state of Maine was founded and was incorporated as the 23rd state of the Union in 1820 as a result of the Missouri Compromise. Was incorporated as a free state to balance the admission of the state of Missouri as a slave state in the Union. The reason I mention this is because Lafayette, yes, was a veteran, as Senator DeChambeau pointed out. He was also an abolitionist and a human rights advocate. And the reason I mention this is because when we get these preparations for the tour celebrations in 2024, I believe that in the state of Maine, indirectly, this conversation could lead to indirectly questions, conversations, ideas, programs about the 200th anniversary and the founding of the state, the incorporation of the state of Maine in the Union. Now, what the Lafayette is trying to accomplish is to create a conversation around the country by bringing all of these states, 25 states, in that national network of Lafayette Trail markers. So when I started at the Consulate of France in Boston, I was successful in getting some support from the Massachusetts legislature as well as the New Hampshire legislature to recognize the Lafayette Trail, and in some states like in Massachusetts, get the state to create a layer of navigational signage that would connect those towns together in order to make it more evident for the public that they will be traveling on a road of historical significance. So in the state of Maine, what my company is trying to accomplish in the state of Maine is that we have 2 things in mind. Senator DeChambeau alluded to the fact that my company donates individual markers to mark individual sites that go from Louisiana to Maine. So in Maine, we have several candidates for that. We have one site in the town of Kennebunk. We have one in Saco. We have one in Portland, Scarborough, et cetera, et cetera. So we have those sites available on our website. What we do not provide, though, is the connections between those sites, those markers, individual markers placed on those sites. And I believe that that's what the support of the Maine DOT would accomplish with this bill. That's why I'm standing in favor of it. I believe that it would provide consistency across the state and generate a conversation that would not be limited to just the few sites that would be recipient of our privately funded markers, but also would be included thanks to the support of the state of Maine. I sent 2 images ahead of this hearing. I don't know if you got them at all, but I wanted to show you one image. The marker that's blue, white, and red is the marker that my organization, with the support of our partner, the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, provide. We provide those markers. We pay for those markers. Those are the limited markers that we would be able to place in some sites in Maine. And the second photo I sent you is an image showing what Massachusetts did in the western part of the Berkshire region. To commemorate the General Lafayette Trail with their own signage. So I'm hoping we can reproduce a similar initiative in the state of Maine to include the state of Maine in that idea. So New Hampshire did the same thing, Massachusetts did the same thing. I'm working with the state of Vermont at the moment, and we also have some individual signs in the state of Connecticut as well. You know, in Maine, he was here June 24th, 25th, and 26, 1825, visiting from New Hampshire. But he also came one time for a one-day trip in 1824. He crossed the Piscataqua River in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and visited the Portsmouth Navy Yard, which is actually in Erie, Maine. So I think it's important that we have these 2 parts of the tour of Lafayette and the stops he made in Maine covered. Some towns, I'm gonna make a mention of one because Senator Deschambault already alluded to her hometown of Biddeford. The town of Kennebunk was incorporated on June 24, 1820. And this is in 1825, the exact same day when Lafayette was in Kennebunk. The town of Kennebunk to this day still uses the Lafayette elm, which was planted during Lafayette's visit. It still is the town seal to this day in 2021. So just to give you an idea of the legacy that Lafayette left behind and how some of your towns really appropriated that legacy. So I do hope that in addition to that, you know, you have this Acadia National Park that was known for 10 years as Lafayette National Park. I believe you have some special connections with Lafayette in Maine that other states don't necessarily have. Certainly the month of March, I remember at my time at the consulate, was the month of the French language. We always did something big in Maine. This year, I don't know what they're going to be able to do up there. I'm calling from Maryland. But I hope that this tradition prevails, or that we try to adapt that in as much as the pandemic allows. So I would like to work with the state of Maine to add this layer of navigational signage to create a constituency across the state. And I would offer one idea to the text that has been presented to you. In order to give more flexibility to the Department of Transportation, I would suggest changing this the verb that says that the state of Maine markers shall use the Lafayette Trail logo. Maybe to give more flexibility, we could replace that shall in the language with the verb may. That would give more flexibility, maybe in the consideration of the bill. But to me, this is really my, I'd like to see this partnership going on. And I really believe that the state of Maine should be included in this initiative. And I just hope that it is doable. So please, if you have any questions, do let me know. But I'm very excited about this, and I hope that something can be worked out. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ishay. We really appreciate you being with us and sharing that information. It's very helpful, and I hope things are well in Maryland for you. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is Mr. Hoffman available, Darlene?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. So thank you for this opportunity to speak. Senator Diamond and Representative Martin and other distinguished senators and representatives. My name is Alan Hoffman. I speak as president of the American Friends of Lafayette in support of this bill. The American Friends of Lafayette has been around since 1932. It was founded at Lafayette College and has members in most, but not all of the states. And we have been a partner with Julian E. Shea since 2017, when he first came and worked at the consulate and mapped and did a website of all the stops that Lafayette made in New England. And then he went back to France and with the help of the American Friends of Lafayette, raised some money, and he was able to return and to complete the other states, all of the other states. So the 6 New England states, and then another 18, and the District of Columbia, that's 24, and also West Virginia, which wasn't a state when Lafayette was there in 1824, but Lafayette visited Wheeling. So that's another one that Julian actually physically visited and mapped out the route. And his website has all the stops that Lafayette made. It's quite an accomplishment. And now he is working with the Pomeroy Foundation to put markers in these places that he mapped out to commemorate Lafayette. And of course, the mission of the American Friends of Lafayette is to commemorate Lafayette, his work, and his life. So he's never forgotten, because he was the best friend that this country ever had. And now when he came in 1824 and 1825, he was here for 13 months, visited all 24 states, and people came to see him. They wanted to touch him. There were all kinds of events and parades, etc. And as a result of that, we have 80 cities, towns, or counties named for Lafayette. We have streets and roads, countless streets and roads and statues in Lafayette Square, Lafayette River in Virginia, Mount Lafayette in my home state of New Hampshire. I live in Londonderry. I probably should have said that. Just to give you Julian referenced this, and he's a tough act to follow, but Lafayette was in Kennebunk for maybe 4 hours. There were speeches and his reply. There was a dinner. And as a result of that 4 hours, that's the only time he was there. And the speeches were made under what became known as the Lafayette Elm, which survived until late in the 20th century. And then it had to be cut down because of Dutch elm disease. But that 4-hour visit led to the town of Kennebunk adopting the Lafayette elm as its symbol, and it's on the town seal. You see it, it actually says Lafayette elm. And of course, the Brickstore Museum has chunks of it, sections of it in their collection. So I'm very excited about the Lafayette Trail and Julian's work, and I would recommend that this august committee give it favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, for that presentation. We appreciate it. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. And Megan Russo from the Department of Transportation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Megan Russo. I am the legislative liaison for Maine DOT. Maine DOT is neither for nor against LD 267. Maine DOT considers the naming of bridges and roadways and other state transportation infrastructure to be within the purview of the legislature, and as such, we generally do not take positions on so-called naming bills. As some on this committee will recall, this bill was submitted last session and failed to pass in both bodies before the legislature adjourned due to the pandemic. Maine DOT testified neither for nor against last session's bill, but we did ask that the bill be amended to include the specific route that will be designated. We are pleased to see that this new proposal does include this specified route. While reviewing the proposed route to determine an estimated fiscal impact, we did notice some areas once the route reaches Portland that could prove problematic when directing traffic. Also, based on this additional information, we were able to determine that approximately 100 signs would be needed to adequately sign the trail. And the estimated cost of these signs, poles, and staff hours is estimated to be $20,000. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Russo, and I apologize for not identifying you as neither for nor against, which I believe is.
We are,
your-
yep, neither for nor against.
Thank you. Questions of Ms. Russo? From the committee? Seeing none, we look forward to having you all here at our work session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's the end of my list of those who are registered to testify. No more questions from the committee. We'll close the hearing on LD 267. We'll now open the public hearing on LD 266, an act to create the Maine Lighthouse Trust registration plate. And that's presented again by Senator DeChambeau of York. Again, welcome, Senator DeChambeau.
Yes, I am still Sue DeChambeau and I still represent the same towns. Okay. Things are happening in Biddeford. It's another Biddeford one. And I didn't plan this. So again, good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and the still distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. And you know the towns I represent. So I am here before you today for LD 266, an act to create the Maine Lighthouse Trust registration plate. I would like to credit, first of all, Tim Harrison for the following comment, because Tim Harrison is a writer and a publisher of the Lighthouse Digest. For decades, he's done this, and he writes, Maine is known around the world as the Lighthouse State and has the largest concentration of 3 of these historic beacons. As well as being visually appealing, the new Maine Lighthouse license plate will be a traveling billboard helping to draw attention to our state's historic lighthouses. Whenever I read that sentence, I think what it was like when we were kids and my parents drove to Florida. And did you ever play the lighthouse? I mean, the license game? You had to name all the license plates in the states. So it would be great that the lighthouse was a Maine license plate. The Maine Lighthouse Trust was founded by Sean Murphy, who 18 years earlier had created a local volunteer group to restore Biddeford's historic Wood Island Lighthouse located opposite Hills Beach, Maine, and near the University of New England. So 20 years ago, you recall where the Coast Guard started decommissioning these lighthouses. And rather than go into disrepair, a volunteer group grabbed this one. The goal of the trust is to raise money for all of Maine's lighthouse community, all of Maine's This is not just a Biddeford lighthouse. The trust fund is to raise money, to give grants to help any lighthouse that needed a certain amount of money to either repair the roof or what have you. I would like to paraphrase Senator David Meermont's testimony when he sponsored this same bill last year. He writes, and he lives by the ocean himself, for centuries, lighthouses have guided mariners sailing up and down Maine's rocky coast. This bill would honor all those with stories of what a lighthouse has meant to them. Many of these folks have committed to supporting the history of our lighthouses by pledging to purchase the new license plate. When we see these plates on the road, you will be reminded, it will remind us of the rich and beautiful heritage. For those of you who are new, you probably, and I'm sure Senator Diamond and anyone else will be able to tell you what it takes to get a license plate even this far where we are today. So I want you to know this started almost maybe 2 years ago and should have been on our cars today, but if it wasn't for the pandemic. But people, they had to 2,000 people had to commit that they would buy the plate with $25. So the Secretary of State's office has been sitting on over $50,000 that they helped raise. And please be mindful of that when you look at the fiscal note. The Maine Lighthouse Trust will endeavor to support those who recognize and promote the intrinsic value of these icons and the communities in which they are located. The founder of this organization, Sean Murphy, was to testify today. However, he's unable to attend. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. However, Barbara Fortier, a longtime volunteer of restoring and promoting Wood Island House, has graciously volunteered to give testimony today. So I would answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Senator, for that very nice presentation. Are there questions from the committee? I do not see any. You did a great job. Thank you very, very much for that. We have two testifiers. One, Barbara Fortier, should be speaking as a proponent, and we'll go to Barbara next.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. So I'm Barbara Fortier. I'm a native Mainer, lifelong resident of Biddeford, and I'm secretary on the board of the Maine Lighthouse Trust. Beyond that, I have been, as Senator DeChambeau said, I have been involved with Wood Island for, oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you, going decades since I grew up here in various capacities. But anyway, I'm here today to ask that you please pass the act to create the Maine Lighthouse Trust registration plate LD 266. As you know, lighthouses have played a vital role in our state's maritime history since construction began on them back on Maine's first, which was at Portland Headlight in 1787. And today, more than 230 years later, lighthouses continue to aid in our safe navigation of our coastal waters, as well as inspire tourism and fascination with our state's history and the lighthouse keeper heritage of lore, right? Since lighthouses in our country have now all been automated, many of their associated residences and outbuildings have fallen into disrepair, and that upkeep has fallen mainly into hands of concerned citizens and proactive nonprofit groups. While this maintenance involves an inordinate number of human work hours and a plethora of resources, the funding really is the primary issue. So the sales of the Maine Lighthouse Trust registration plate will help to raise necessary funding for this endeavor. And as Senator DeChambeau said, and others have said, will serve as a billboard and constant reminder of our coastal heritage all along Maine's highways and roads. Since tourism plays a large role in our state's economy, the preservation of our state's lighthouses will only help to support our economic future. So as a beneficiary from the sale of these plates, the Maine Lighthouse Trust will be charged with dispersing funds to various groups in all of Maine's lighthouse communities to help preserve and protect the extensive history that's on display with the more than 60 lighthouses from Kittery to Eastport and Lubec, and to help improve public access to these iconic structures. Having received support for this specialty plate during the pre-sale of more than 2,000 plates by citizens representing 375 of the 488 incorporated municipalities from York to Aroostook County, I think we've demonstrated the appeal of this iconic lighthouse plate in all corners of Maine. So I'm extremely appreciative of the support for these plates and look forward to seeing them on vehicles throughout the state. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Ms. Fortier, for your testimony and for being here with us today. We appreciate that for sure. Are there questions from the committee? If not, thank you very much. The other proponent is Stephen Ashcroft from Bureau of Motor Vehicle. Good afternoon, Mr. Ashcroft.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. You're right on target.
Okay. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Steve Ashcroft. I'm the Director of Vehicle Services for the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And I'm representing the Bureau today speaking in support of LD 266. During this legislative session, you will hear the Bureau testify in opposition to several pieces of proposed legislation that would further create new registration plates or assist in making it easier to create new plates. The Bureau is generally not in favor of further expanding the current number of 63 registration plates at this time. The proliferation of plates is fast outpacing the ability to manage, produce, and store so many plates, not only for us, but for our municipal partners as well. However, the sponsor for this particular plate has met all the obligations within Title 29A, Section 468. In 2018 and in 2019 deposited $50,000 that was required as a startup cost with the Secretary of State. This proposed specialty plate came before this committee during the second regular session, session of the 129th legislature, and was voted out of the committee ought to pass. If not for the emergency created by COVID-19, this plate would more than likely already be in circulation. As a reminder, Title 29A, Section 468 establishes the process by which a sponsor may propose the creation of a new specialty plate. The sponsor must register with the Secretary of State and provide a proposed plate design. Once the design is approved to its form, the sponsor must collect the 2,000 pre-sale signatures at $25 each for a total of $50,000. After the Secretary of State receives the required signatures and funds, the department submits a draft of legislation to the revisor for the enabling legislation. The legislation is then submitted to the committee and the full legislature for consideration. Currently, there are 10 specialty plates totaling about 221,000 registration plates on Maine vehicles now. I would ask the committee to approve this plate, and in doing so, we would be keeping with the good faith effort by this sponsor. I would also like to add that I believe there's a typo within the final lines of the legislation that estimates that we would be able to put this plate into circulation by October 1st, 2022. I believe that's a typo. I think we can do better than that. We should be able to do it by this fall. With that, thank you for your consideration, and I would be pleased to answer any questions if you have them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Ashcroft, for that. It's nice to have you with us. So we have a lot of plates that with a lot of excitement and a lot of energy, and then they tend to wear out. At least the energy sometimes wanes, and you're left with a number of plates that people aren't really registering anymore. Is that basically true?
Well, that would be correct. And as you add more plates to the pool, the ones that have come before and had plenty of interest, then wane. The statute does provide for the fact that if plate sales go below 4,000 for in excess of more than 1 year, that we would retire them.
Right. Got it.
That provision is in there.
So, yeah, thank you. Questions from the committee? Seeing none. Good job. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you, Senator.
That ends the registered people who are testifying today. So we will now close the public hearing on LD 266. And thank you, everybody, for participating. We're going to move one bill up. We have what has become our favorite representative, Representative McDonald, is with us again, but she has an unexpected issue she has to deal with and wanted to know if she could come up and do hers now. And since we've had her on so much, we couldn't resist. So Representative McDonald, welcome. We're going to have you present LD 258, an act to expand eligibility for special emergency medical services registration plates to ambulance operators. Good afternoon, Representative McDonald, again.
Thank you, Senator. I really appreciate it. And I'm like a bad penny. I never go away. So
no, we think we like you.
Well, thank you. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. I am Representative Genevieve McDonald of Maine House District 134, and I'm testifying before you today as the sponsor of LD 258, an act to expand eligibility for special emergency medical services registration plates to ambulance operators. Ambulance drivers are currently only eligible for EMS special license plates if they are also trained as emergency medical technicians. This bill acknowledges that regardless of what type of training they receive, ambulance drivers are vital emergency services personnel. The purpose of EMS registration plates is to easily identify emergency medical service personnel when they arrive on the scene or are traveling to an ambulance bay during an emergency situation. Someone who drives an ambulance is definitely somebody others would want to look for and spot right away in an emergency situation requiring rapid transportation to a hospital or other medical facility. This matters especially in rural and island communities like those I represent. Given the small size of our communities, you often see off-duty ambulance drivers assist at the scene even when they are not the primary driver. An ambulance driver may even arrive on the scene of an emergency in their personal vehicle rather than an ambulance, and it would be wise to be able to quickly recognize that he or she is responding to help. This bill is also a way of recognizing the significant contributions ambulance drivers make and the skills they employ in situations where conditions can be hazardous and time is of the essence. Thank you for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then as a side note, this bill is contingent on the passage of another bill, an act to license ambulance drivers who are not licensed to provide emergency medical services, as there is currently no database to easily identify ambulance drivers. That bill has not been released from the revisor's office yet.
Thank you, Representative McDonald. Representative, have you seen the testimony from the Maine Fire Chiefs Association in opposition to this?
I have not.
Okay, might want to check that out. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you again and good luck today.
Thank you.
Others, let me see, no co-sponsors, I don't think, no. So we would ask for Representative Sam Hurley, who is going to be testifying neither for nor against. We have no proponents or opponents who will be testifying. So Sam Hurley.
Good afternoon, everyone. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and honorable members of the Committee of Transportation. My name is Sam Hurley, and I'm the Director of Maine Emergency Medical Services, also known as Maine EMS within the Department of Public Safety. I am testifying neither for nor against LD 238, an act to expand eligibility for special emergency medical services registration plates to ambulance operators on behalf of the Maine Department of Public Safety and Maine EMS. Maine EMS is supportive of the men and women working as drivers throughout the state of Maine to have the same access to specialty EMS plates as those persons licensed by my office. We certainly think that they too deserve access to these vanity plates in recognition of their time and dedication that they invest in our system. We would ask, however, that you table this bill until other legislation, as Representative McDonald referred to, is heard regarding adding these individuals as licensed persons under Title 32, Chapter 2B. That should that legislation, which hasn't been printed to date, pass, then this language in this legislation could be changed to be clearer to say that any persons licensed under Title 32, Chapter 2B will be eligible for the EMS special registration plates. This potential modification in the proposed language, while predicated on the passing of the other bill, would allow emergency medical dispatchers to also have access to these vanity plates as well. Emergency medical dispatchers are an integral part to the overall function of the EMS system in the state of Maine, as they are the first to interact with people when they call 911 and are experiencing a life-threatening emergency. Through their training and vigilance, they provide life-saving instructions to persons on scene prior to the arrival of first responders, as well as share information with the responding organizations to ensure their safety. They too should be able to obtain a special recognition plate with the Star of Life. Should you elect not to defer this legislation until the other legislation has been passed regarding ambulance operators, we would ask that you better define which operators are eligible. At this time, anyone can technically operate an ambulance, but only those that have driving the ambulance, quote, as part of their job duties are required to complete emergency vehicle operator training. For instance, a police officer may be authorized to drive an ambulance, but that isn't their primary role. The language in this bill would allow them to qualify as an ambulance operator too. The original legislation requires that statuses be certified by my office. However, at this time, we would not be able to provide that same certification for operators because there is not an official recognition process. Maine EMS appreciates your time and attention to this matter, and I am more than happy to take any questions that I may be able to answer about this proposed legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Helpful information. We appreciate that. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. And the last person to testify on this LD is Steve, excuse me. Yeah, Steve Ashcroft. Had him down twice. And I thought I'd seen double, but welcome back. Thank you.
And you've got me 2 more times after this.
Oh, wow, that's perfect.
Thank you, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation, and indeed Steve Ashcroft, the Director of Vehicle Services for the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I'm representing the Bureau today, speaking neither for nor against LD 258. The purpose of my testimony today is to provide you with information regarding the EMS plates. In the calendar year 2020, there were 262 vehicles registered with EMS plates. This number remains consistent with the previous years. We currently have 400 sets of plates on hand and available to issue. It should be noted that we only have enough material to make an additional 200 over that 400 that we have on hand. Should demand be such that we do not need to, that we do need to produce more than additional 200, the cost for one roll of aluminum fluctuates constantly. But the last roll purchased here at the Bureau of Motor Vehicle was $2.15 a pound. A roll generally weighs about 2,200 pounds, which brings the approximate cost of one roll of aluminum to about $4,700. The cost for one roll of sheeting material to make the plate is around $2,300 currently. Between these two items, the cost to produce additional plates in this class would be about $7,000 for one roll of each material. One roll of each product would make about 700 to 800 pairs. It generally takes about 6 weeks to receive the material from the vendor and approximately 2 more weeks to make and distribute plates to our sites. The Bureau has no data or predictive models that would provide us any idea on how many new registrations there would be with expanding the eligibility for this plate. However, the Bureau anticipates that the cost approximation stated above would be accurate. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Ashcroft. That was informative. Questions from the committee? So I'm sure you'll be working with finance on the fiscal note?
Yes, we will.
Yeah, very good. Seeing no more questions, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. We look forward to your next testimony.
Okay.
That ends the public hearing on LD 258. So we'll close that. We'll now go back to our order, and that takes us to LD 312. LD 312, presented by Senator Claxton, an act to extend the use of the Maine bicentennial registration plates through 2021. Good afternoon, Senator Claxton.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, and in absentia, Representative Martin, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Ned Claxton, and I represent Senate District 20, which includes Auburn, Minot, Mechanic Falls, Poland, and New Gloucester. I'm here today to introduce LD 312, an act to extend the use of Maine bicentennial registration plates through 2021. A constituent approached me with the idea of extending the use of his bicentennial plate through 2021. He felt that since we hadn't really been able to celebrate our great state's 200th birthday, extending the use of the bicentennial registration plates through another year would be a good idea. His hope was and is that some of the planned celebrations will take place this year. He has one of the plates, is proud of it, and wants to continue to show it off. I support his enthusiasm and agreed to submit this bill. My understanding is that there will need to be some minor language changes in the bill as it stands now, and I welcome any suggestions to make it read properly. You'll be hearing from Steve Ashcroft again, the Director of Vehicle Services for BMV. The department has a wording change that will help make the intent of the bill clearer. The suggested wording is fine with me. I'll be happy to submit an amended version if that would be helpful to the committee. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions you might have.
Thank you, Senator Claxton. We appreciate that. And by the way, as chair of the Bicentennial Commission, I appreciate you looking into this. And I would also let you know there is another bill, at least one coming from Representative Bryant, that will not only do what you're asking, extending the plate, but also extending the availability and purpose of the commission itself, because that also expired on the 31st, 2020. So we'll be probably putting those bills together, and we really look forward to your input on that.
Representative Bryant has frequently been ahead of me in these kinds of things.
He's ahead of all of us most of the time. Are there questions from the committee to Senator Claxton? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Senator. And again,
Thank you for your time.
We appreciate you being there on that. And the next testimony will come again from Stephen Ashcroft, as neither for nor against. Welcome again, Mr. Ashcroft.
Darlene has a stop sign up. Darlene.
Well, I wanted him to see me. Don't forget Bradley Sawyer, who's in favor.
Oh, yes.
He's on the list.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Would you like me to continue, Senator?
Yes.
Okay. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Steve Ashcroft, Director of Vehicle Services for the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I am representing the Bureau today, speaking neither for nor against LV 321. In reading the language contained within the proposed legislation, it had occurred to us that there is some potential for misunderstanding on the expiration of the plates already in circulation and the potential for some additional costs if there is a need to produce a new batch of plates with the correct expiration on them. Please let me explain. The sentence starting on line 25 and continuing through lines 26 and 27 clearly articulate that the expiration must be printed on the registration plate. Until COVID, this was perfectly fine. But as we contemplate extending the display of this plate through the end of this calendar year, a problem arises with the nearly 5,166 plates already on citizens' vehicles and 500 plates that we still have in stock displaying a 2020 expiration. We have discussed options ranging from a standard validation sticker affixed to the plate or to a general formal announcement to law enforcement explaining the expiration and what it would be. We believe that the solution could be as simple as striking the expiration date language in this sentence. We would also add a statement that previously issued plates with an expiration date of December 31st, 2020, although this may not be necessary. And you have within my testimony what we would propose for language. I'm not a reviser. I'd be happy for suggestions. I just thought that this would be something that you could possibly react to. We were mindful that we could have some misunderstanding with enforcement out on the road, and we didn't want that to happen.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Ashcroft. I appreciate that in particular because obviously there is anticipation we're going to be doing a lot with our celebration events this year, and certainly that plate and actually 2020 looks better on it anyways, as long as we provide permission for that to happen. Questions of Mr. Ashcroft? Seeing none, thank you very much. And I skipped over Brad Sawyer, who was the first executive director of the Bicentennial Commission. Brad, I'm sorry I jumped over you, but no harm done, and we appreciate you being here speaking as a proponent.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. And to Senator Diamond and members of the committee, my name is Brad Sawyer. I'm currently the Director of Government Affairs and a registered lobbyist with the Maine Rural Water Association, but I will not be speaking today in that capacity, and the views I state are my own and no one else's. So as mentioned, prior to joining Rural Water, I was the business manager for the Maine Bicentennial Commission for almost a year. I was lucky enough to get to spend every day learning about Maine history and playing a small role in the next step in it. Of course, COVID hit, and just like everything else, plans were sidelined, and it just happened to be that Governor Mills declared the state of emergency exactly on Maine's 200th birthday. Not quite the party we were hoping for, but the one that was necessary given all of the concerns. The commission has rebounded, and through informal conversations, they are ready and raring to go with 200+1. And having worked with those folks during the 2019 and the buildup, I have all the confidence in the world that they are going to put on a great celebration when it's safe to do so for the people of Maine. I was one of the first people in Maine to buy my bicentennial plate. It was before I was associated with the organization. At the time, I was actually working in the Secretary of the Senate's office. And I was so early that the clerk at my local BMV didn't know what I was talking about when I asked for 5 of them for Christmas presents for my family. I've been excited about the bicentennial for a long time, and I know other Mainers share that passion. And this, by extending this deadline, it's a small thing that you get to say to the people of Maine. We recognize that this party was taken away, this celebration, and we're looking forward to it in the future. I've read the Bureau's comments, and I would agree that new plates don't need to be made for this to continue for the next 10 months. That being said, they are the experts along with Maine's law enforcement community. So I would certainly not act like I am aware of all of the safety concerns that those organizations might, and would ultimately defer to them with all of those concerns. But thank you for your time today. I've heard more license plate talk than I really ever thought I would. And I hope folks will be excited about the bicentennial +1 moving forward.
Thank you, Brad, for that testimony, and thank you for offering it. I also want to give a hump of praise for you for all the work you did getting the commission started and going and carrying it through for so long. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any questions of Mr. Sawyer, Brad Sawyer? Saying none, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We'll close the public hearing on LD 312. Now open the public hearing on LD 79, an act to establish a honeybee special registration plate presented by Representative Lyford of Eddington. Welcome, Representative Lyford.
Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Transportation Committee. I am Representative Peter Lyford, District 129, which is Clifton, Eddington, Holden, VZ, and 0.25 of Brewer. I was asked by, well, I want to make sure that Representative O'Connell knew.
Yeah, I heard
my
that.
place. I was asked by the Penobscot County Beekeepers Association to introduce this bill to the committee. As you know, the honeybee is an extremely important pollinator throughout the country. Here in Maine, we certainly import tens of thousands of bees each spring to pollinate our wild blueberries, apples, our cranberries, squash, and any commercial cucumber plantations. We have many associations throughout the state who are supportive of this bill. We also have in Portland at the Stevens Avenue, the Honey Exchange. It's a family-owned business that sells honey and beekeeping equipment, and also did up to the virus showed up have classes. So I think that it would be a great. We have, as you know, we have quite a few different license plates. I think it would be a great addition to show support for the honeybee. If this bill went forward, we would continue to work with the Secretary of State's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lyford, for that. We appreciate it. Are there questions from the committee of Representative Lyford? Seeing none, thank you again. We have no one registered to testify as a proponent. We have one testifying as an opponent. That would be Stephen Ashcroft. Again, welcome again, Mr. Ashcroft.
Thank you once again, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Steve Ashcroft, Director of Vehicle Services for the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I'm representing the Bureau today, speaking in opposition to LD 79. Throughout the years, as many of you on this committee can attest to, the design and creation of new registrations plates have been an ongoing and evolving issue. The proliferation of designs and purposes of these plates outside of their general issue registration plate is an ever-growing concern. Maine currently has 63 different registration plates. Other than the general issue chickadee plate and the veteran plates, we have commemorative registration plates, environmental registration plates, special registration plates, hobbyist registration plates, specialty registration plates, recognition registration plates, and more, just to name a few. Managing an ever-growing number of approved plates and requests for new plates has become an expanding task, not only for our staff at the Bureau, but for our municipal partners and plate manufacturing staff at the state prison as well. Municipalities in the state of Maine register 80% of our 1.4 million registrations here in the state of Maine. Maintaining, managing adequate inventory along with storage capacity needs is fast becoming an issue for these municipalities. I'm certain that you've all visited your town or city offices and can certainly see how this can become a real issue for them. Space at municipal offices within our stockroom and available space at the state prison is limited. This becomes problematic when needing to store a variety of all the different plates along with large rolls of plate material, which we must have available when needed. In the past, the legislature recognized the need to manage the plethora of requests for new plates. Since that time, the legislature, through this committee, has enacted a well-defined structured process in Title 29A, Sections 468 and 468A. That's the specialty plate section, by which new specialty plates are reviewed, authorized, and enacted. Although this plate request is a special registration plate within Section 456, I would encourage a similar process as within Section 468 to establish some structure and viability of plate sales. New registration plates take an inordinate amount of time, effort, and money to bring into existence. A general estimate to create a new plate is roughly $42,000 to $49,000 for about roughly 4,800 plates, which does not include BMV staff time spent, our vendor staff time, or plate shop personnel and municipal partners. The startup cost of these plates would be borne by the Bureau through the Highway Fund and not the sponsor as with specialty plates. For the reasons stated above, the Bureau opposes this legislation and asks that this committee continue to have ongoing discussions regarding the purpose of registration plates and the state's approach to the necessity and role of this proliferation of registration plates. I would be glad and honored to answer any questions the committee might have regarding my statements.
Thank you, Mr. Ashcroft. That's something we definitely need to talk about at some point. Has this group started the process of collecting the funds and on all the various steps that are required, 4 or 5 steps?
No, Senator Diamond. You know, in 456, there isn't the same process by which specialty plates was designed with having a sponsor and collecting the pre-signatures. So there's part of Title 29A that was pre-specialty plates, and you might remember this.
Yeah, right.
And I remember a conversation with Secretary Dunlap regarding this whole process when he said at one point, one legislative session, there were over 40 requests for new plates. And that was when the committee embarked on finding a process by which, you know, we can vet, if you will, new plates in this process. So this is fundraising within sort of the state venue, much like the sportsmen's and the environmental, outside of what the Lighthouse Trust people had to go through. So my suggestion would be maybe we should be going through that process for all of our plates, new plates.
Thank you for that. Representative Tom Martin has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you said earlier we had around 63 plates?
Yes, just
and
different plates.
when they drop below 4,000 of registrations of them being registered, they drop. I'm assuming they get taken out of circulation.
Only the ones that are considered to be specialty plates and were enacted under that statute. So there's plenty of them that would not fall into that category. So again, that's why I say maybe we should be going through that process.
Right.
And if the plate's not viable, then it goes away.
Have we dropped any?
Recently, there was one specialty plate that's right now needs to be looked at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Ashcroft, for that. And that ends those who are registered to testify today, and therefore we'll close that public hearing on LD 79. The last bill, committee members, thank you for hanging in there, is going to be a bill that I'm presenting, and so I'm going to ask Senator Farren if he will assume the chairmanship of this next hearing.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. I'd like to open the public hearing on LD 128. It's a bill to enact to authorize the Commissioner of Transportation to enter in agreements with the United States Department of Transportation. And it's presented by our chairman of the Transportation Committee, Senator Diamond. Senator Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of the Transportation Committee. It's a pleasure to present this bill, especially since it's the last one. And I think everybody's eager to have this done. I don't expect it'll take long, but I am Senator Bill Diamond, and I'm presenting to you an act to authorize the Commissioner of Transportation to enter into an agreement or agreements with the United States Department of Transportation, LD 128. The passage of LD 128 would change the applicable sections of the Maine statute to allow the Maine DOT to enter into an agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for assignment under the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, of 1969. By pursuing NEPA assignment, MDOT is seeking to be deemed the lead federal agency for environmental review. Question there is why. And the Maine DOT Deputy Commissioner Nina Fisher is here to present the bill and further explain the benefits. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that opportunity to present this bill.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Before we move on, any questions from the committee members to our bill sponsor? They're letting you off easy, Senator.
I know, God bless you.
You got that. With that being said, I recognize Nina Fisher, please.
Thank you, Senator Farren. Can you folks hear me okay? I switched my audio to telephone. Is that better? Okay, great. So let's talk about license plates and NEPA. No. Senator Farren, Senator Diamond, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation, my name is Nina Fisher, and I am Deputy Commissioner of the Maine Department of Transportation. I am before you today to present LD 128. The passage of LD 128 would allow Maine DOT to enter into agreements with the Federal Highway Administration within the United States Department of Transportation for assignment under the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, of 1969. NEPA is a federal procedural law that establishes a national environmental policy. It provides a framework for environmental planning and decision-making on Maine DOT projects that either receive federal funding or require federal approval. When planning projects, Maine DOT is required to conduct an environmental review to satisfy NEPA. By pursuing NEPA assignment, FHWA's environmental review responsibilities would be formally transferred to Maine DOT, and we would be deemed the lead federal agency for environmental review in consultation with other federal agencies. While Maine DOT would provide oversight of the process, the passage of LD 128 does not change any existing environmental laws. In order to accept NEPA assignment, the state of Maine, under 23 U.S.C. 326 and 327 of the Federal Code, must meet three legal requirements. One, we must agree to accept the jurisdiction of the federal courts for the compliance, discharge, and enforcement of any responsibility of the Secretary of Transportation by waiving the state's immunity from civil liability on transportation projects within the NEPA assignment program. Two, we must acquire authority to enter into a memorandum of understanding with FHWA to define the range of environmental responsibilities the state assumes. And finally, three, we must provide certification that Freedom of Information Act, FOA equivalents, are in place. LD 128 proposes making the necessary changes in state statute that would allow Maine DOT to meet these 3 requirements and start the process. Meeting these 3 legal requirements is the first step in receiving NEPA assignment. Once Maine DOT enters into an agreement with FHWA, the federal agency will monitor the department and perform audits on Maine DOT for 5 years to ensure compliance. FHWA will continue to have oversight of any state or international border projects and government-to-government tribal consultations. There are currently 8 other states that have successfully accepted assignment under NEPA. These states are currently enjoying the benefits of serving as the lead agencies for environmental review. States such as California, Texas, and Ohio are reporting a 25% reduction in time spent on projects for which NEPA is required. While Maine DOT's program is smaller than those in many other NEPA assignment states, we expect to enjoy similar benefits. Saving time on a project directly equates to saving money. Accepting NEPA assignment will result in a more efficient and streamlined environmental review process by providing for a direct consultation between Maine DOT and federal regulatory agencies while still meeting environmental protection standards. We are fully prepared and equipped to move forward with these responsibilities. Maine DOT has the professional and experienced staff to carry out the required environmental analyses and is performing these today. During the past several years, Federal Highway and other national organizations have recognized Maine DOT for our environmental stewardship. These awards include the Northeast Transportation and Wildlife Achievement Award for the Maine Atlantic Salmon Programmatic Section 7 consultation in 2018, the U.S. DOT FHWA Excellence in Teamwork Award for the Maine Atlantic Salmon Programmatic Section 7 consultation in 2017, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Endangered Species Recovery Champion Award in 2016. We urge you to support LD 128, which would allow us to move forward in this process, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Any questions from the committee members? Seeing none, Darlene, keep me straight here. I'm looking there. Is there, okay, seeing no questions. Darlene, is there anybody in the queue for any?
There is not.
All right, with that being said, I will close the public hearing on LD 128 and turn the gavel back over to our Honorable Chairman, Senator Bill Diamond.
Thank you, Senator Farren, for doing such a good job at the last minute notice. You did an excellent job. I appreciate that. Okay, that wraps us up for today. Good job, everybody. Just short of 3 hours, and we got a lot covered and a lot to report out, which I'm really proud of. And again, thank you for sticking with us through the process. Remember that next Tuesday, the 23rd, we'll have a work session on pretty much all the bills we heard today. So we should be able to turn out a lot more bills out of the committee. We're doing a great job in terms of numbers and time. Really quite impressive. And I thank you all for that. Darlene, you had a question?
Yeah, I need to get some votes where Representative White is back. That way leadership doesn't have to deal with this.
Oh, okay.
We'll just backtrack if Representative White will get back on. Dustin.
I'm here. Okay, I was going to say, I thought I hit all
No,
mine.
you're good.
Thank you for clarifying.
Can I go ahead and do those now, or you?
Yeah, no, go ahead and do them.
Okay.
Because he should know that these are all unanimous too.
They're all unanimous. They're all ought not to pass. So LD 236.
Ought not to pass.
Okey-doke. And 230.
LD 230 ought not to pass.
234.
Ought not to pass.
And 43.
Ought not to pass.
And 228.
Ought not to pass.
Thank you very much.
Thank
My
you.
part's done.
Rich was waving.
Who is?
Rich
Representative Seabra.
Oh, Representative Seabra. I don't see you up here. Anyway, Representative Seabra, sorry.
No, maybe he was leaving.
I think he's gone. Thank you, everybody. Again, anything else, Darlene?
Nope, that's it for now.
Uh,
Well,
say-
actually, how many of you are not getting your invites?
Yeah, I think that's all of us. Or at least I'm not.
Okay, just you two today? All right. Well, I'll talk to IT again, because they do go in your legislative emails.
I don't do my legislative email. Yes,
Well, that's why you're not getting them, and I can't switch it.
you can't?
Nope.
I don't have access. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Well, I'll fix that, but
So, Sam, anything for that for us? Sam? No? I take that as a no.
Muted.
All
Can you hear
right.
me? Sorry, I forgot to unmute. We're all set for the day. I don't have anything else for you.
Very good. See you all next Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Thanks again for hanging with us. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, guys. Be safe.